Welcome to Discovering True Health, where our goal is to provide you with cutting-edge health information through research, interviews with experts, and personal journeys to true health. Our message is a message of hope and healing, and our mission is to bring you on a journey to discovering true health, to not only find wellness, but to thrive. Hello and welcome to Discovering True Health, your weekly deep dive into health and wellness. Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all our upcoming shows. You can also check out additional information on our website, Instagram, or Facebook. All those links are below. So today we'll be talking about holistic cancer therapies and therapies that can help mitigate illness. So my guest today is Andrea Page. She's a holistic cancer coach, and she supports her clients going through cancer treatment or that are in the recovery process. And prior to this, she worked in conventional healthcare in radiation oncology for over a decade. So thank you for joining me today, Andrea.
For having me. It's great to be here.
Now, 7 years ago, you left your profession in conventional healthcare and transitioned into your holistic cancer coaching practice. So what inspired you to make this transition, and what was kind of the catalyst to move you into holistic healthcare? I'd really love to hear a bit about your journey and where you are now.
So I did my undergrad in neuroscience, and I went into healthcare immediately after graduating. And I worked in healthcare for a number of years, and then I ended up going back to school and studying radiation oncology. So I've always had the altruistic nature of wanting to help people, wanting to work in healthcare. And when I went into radiation oncology, it really was tailored to my interest of technology combined with healthcare. But what I started to see within the first few years was that there were some gaps in the healthcare and how we really treat cancer specifically, because that was the industry that I was working in. And I started to see a pattern of certain patients that did really well in therapies and others that didn't. And radiation can be a pretty harsh treatment for people, depending on where they're being treated. And there was one in particular that stuck out for me. This is the summer before I left my profession. And he had stomach cancer. He's flying through treatment. He was doing really well, was not losing weight, was happy every day, came in smiling. And so I started to ask him questions about what he was doing. Now, as part of our scope of practice, we're not really allowed to give advice about other areas, in particular nutrition. Even though I had a ton of background in nutrition, I was really passionate about nutrition in my own life. They really keep you pigeonholed to what you can talk about with patients. And so I started to ask patients what they were doing, the ones that were doing really well. And there was a common theme between all the things that they were doing. They were really particular about their nutrition. They had cut out certain things from their diet. They'd implemented some mindfulness practices like yoga or meditation or Tai Chi. They were doing supplements. They were exercising. There were some common themes that were among all of them. And so it really got me thinking about, what I was doing in my profession. And so I started researching. I started reading a lot of books, and then I actually took a certification as a professional cancer coach, and that really opened the doors wide open for me. And I learned about all these other modalities that existed that were so much more in alignment with who I was as a person and how I wanted to work with people. And so there were a few things that happened in a very short amount of time with my job in particular that it just became clear for me that I needed a new path. And so I took the leap. I gave in my resignation. My family and I went on a really big road trip. We ended up in Costa Rica, and we've been here ever since. And so soon after we landed here, I started the transition into holistic health, and I haven't looked back since. It's amazing, so rewarding, and such great results that people are getting.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned you can't talk about anything else when you were, kind of in conventional healthcare. You can only stick to kind of what you're doing. So that must have been really tough, especially with you. It is
really hard. It is really hard. And I have to say, I watched the documentary one night. I remember it so distinctly. It was a Tuesday night. I had watched a documentary about Dr. Berzinski in Texas, and he was treating really advanced stage incurable cancers and having great results. And there was one in particular, which is a DIPG, which is a pediatric tumor. And it's in the base of the brain. It's really hard to get to. You can't surgically remove it. And he was having a 50% success rate with kids, which doesn't seem like a lot, but in conventional medicine, it's basically a 0% survival. And the next day I went into work, and the two first patients of the day were these two kids, and they had this particular tumor. And I felt, there was a nurse there that was supporting them with hospice care and, planning end stage life and transition. And for me, it was just like, I just wanted to hand them like information, watch this documentary, but it's beyond my scope of practice. So
Wow.
that really kind of sealed the deal for me that day.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Gave me goosebumps with children. Oh. Do you by any chance remember what this documentary is called for everybody listening, just in case?
I feel like it's called the Berzinski Method.
Okay.
Or something thereabouts. It's on Gaia TV.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. I'll look for it and I'll post it below for anybody interested in that. It sounds like some great information for everybody out there. Now, what are the ways you work with your clients to create their healing plan, and how does your healing work with cancer patients differ from conventional healthcare, which it's absolutely different. So let's get into kind of what it looks like.
Yeah, my approach is very holistic. It's addressing people, mind, body, spirit. I mean, we are whole beings. We are not just with cancer in specific. You get a diagnosis, they put you in a particular box, and this is the treatment you get. It's the same for everybody, but we're all unique individuals. And so the healing plan is really tailored to the person, to their specific needs, their specific desires. So the first thing that I really do with people is get clear about what their goals are, which nobody really talks about in cancer care, because the goal is really to just get through treatment. But it does not have to be that way. And when you start to peel back the layers and you go beyond sort of physical therapies and you go deeper into, mindset, belief, emotional healing, trauma, and you go deeper into that journey with people, there's a lot of fear that they're able to release. And my process is very much one of empowerment. I'm just a guide. I'm just here to support, but it's really about people taking ownership and self-responsibility for their health and their healing journey, and then guiding them with the tools that they need to really thrive with that.
Right. So you kind of your first step is kind of creating a vision, kind of their vision, or, what they want. So how do you find that really impacts, your cancer patients and clients with their healing process?
Most of them find it pretty interesting because they didn't really think about the questions that I asked. They hadn't really thought about that in the context of their illness. And so having a clear vision, thinking about the future, because I think often once people get a cancer diagnosis, they stop thinking about the future. They're just trying to get through the moment. And that's fine. But once we start planning for the future, we can take the steps to get there, right? And so it opens up the realm of possibilities for them, right? Which is where I operate, in the land of the quantum of endless possibilities, and then finding the way to get there. Once we have a clear path of where we're going, then we can find the ways to get there together and supported.
Beautiful. Yeah, that makes so much sense. You're really, they're, instead of being like dealing with all the pain and suffering in the moment, they're thinking about, okay, what's after this and where am I going and where do I want to be? That's so powerful. And from conventional healthcare, and working with that for over a decade, what were the drawbacks kind of specifically that you've seen with, just using only allopathic approach to treat cancer or disease?
Well, it's limited. To summarize it, really, basically it's very limited in terms of its scope. They treat you with, a certain set of modalities, as they're treating everybody the same. And there's so many things out there that we can use to support ourselves, from nutrition and supplementation, mindfulness, like I said, any kind of meditation, moving our bodies. So really, I look at it's all in terms of energy management, right? Our bodies are energy, everything in the universe is energy. And typically when we are in a state of illness or dis-ease within our body, our energy is really low. And so if you think about our cells being like batteries, they're really low in a charge. And so everything that we incorporate is about raising that energy and getting that energy to be flowing through the body in a really nice, harmonious way. And when we're able to do those things, then disease and illness, it usually just dissipates.
Wow. That makes so much sense. Now, in your process, you work with, your clients on creating skills and habits. What are some important skills and habits that you feel need to be developed and implemented to really get your clients on the path of healing?
Okay, well, the power of the mind, first and foremost. So implementing some tools that are the power of thought, power of belief, positive thought. So really switching their mindset from, victim mode to a more of a mode of empowerment. So most clients that I've worked with have not really done much meditation, but even just implementing 5 to 10 minutes a day of meditation can radically alter their experience. It's really about gaining control over our thoughts and our minds to really activate that healing power within. So I would say that is probably where I start. That's the most important one to kind of develop initially. And it's really easy to implement, right? There's so many videos now on YouTube that anybody can find something that they will enjoy. So starting there, the emotional stuff tends to come later because there's an element of trust that has to happen. There's and really again about the ownership, right? Taking that self-responsibility and developing those habits. What does that entail? Moving your body every single day, becoming more mindful about all aspects of our life, physically, mentally, emotionally, and then developing the skills and the habits to really be able to nurture ourselves. What does that look like for a person? Most of us don't think about this in a context on a day-to-day, but how it really becomes self-care and largely stress care. I think those things are synonymous. Most of us are bombarded with stress. Stress, we know, is responsible for 95% of disease. And so, implement stress management tools and strategies can really alter their experience as well.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I love that you work with mastering the mind and emotions as part of your healing process. That's a practice that I myself have been doing for many years. I've been practicing self-mastery. So I've had incredible shifts in healing, mastering those aspects of myself. So, I mean, that's so powerful. And when it comes to disease and particularly cancer, what role do thoughts and emotions play in? You mentioned a bit before with stress about disease creation, and how do they affect the healing process, would you say?
Well, in my experience of working with people, thoughts and emotions are involved 100% of the time. So the root cause of most cancers, again, in my experience, is usually tied to an emotional trauma, stored memories, negative energy patterns, negative thought patterns, false beliefs that we have about ourselves that we acquired in childhood. So they're so important to look at all of those facets and really create new, more empowering beliefs, new, more empowering thoughts, and really activating that energy. And once you turn people onto this path, I mean, there's no stopping them in terms of bringing harmony back into the body, but also it really changes them as a person. When you have that power to shift your mindset, to have more control over your emotions, to understand how relationship dynamics are playing out, to take back so many elements of control within your life, then the physical manifestation of those disturbances at the emotional and mental level really start to harmonize themselves and then shift. I mean, most people, when we start to when we finish, in a very short amount of time, 6 months to a year, they're completely different people.
Wow.
And that's not my doing, that's their doing, of them really taking these skills and really developing them and the habits. And yeah, and then they just really, when they have that kind of ownership for their own change and transformation, then it really shifts for their health, but also their whole life after that.
Yeah, absolutely. It spills over. It's interesting you mentioned that about trauma, because I did a show on trauma that's coming out shortly, but I was doing research for it, and they did a study showing how childhood trauma actually, a certain amount of childhood trauma can increase your risk of cancers and illness and disease. And I think it was if you have over 6 trauma-related incidents in your childhood, it can actually shorten your lifespan by, I think they said 20 years or something like that. But I was like, wow. I mean, it's powerful.
And again, it comes down to that sort of stagnant energy, right? We store trauma and memories in all organs in different parts of our body, and it just kind of like stays there until we actively remove it.
Yeah. And what are some practices and tools that we'd all implement to kind of help us release the harmful emotions and, kind of master our minds so they aren't part of the problem? We're not keeping these, emotions and traumas inside of us.
Yeah, to clear emotions, I mean, I would recommend working with somebody, and it can be challenging to do on your own, but simple things that anybody can do is meditation, breath work, any kind of yoga, tai chi, qigong. All of that really is about moving energy, right? And really getting honest with ourselves, like honestly looking at how we're living our life, the choices that we're making, the people that we have in our lives, how all those impact our life. And we start to have, when we build more awareness around that, we can make better choices, right? And again, it's really about releasing that energy. I used to use a modality, and I still use it sometimes, called the emotion code, but that helps really pinpoint where emotions are stored in the body and then remove them. But now I've moved into frequency therapy. And since I've adopted that, I mean, it's amazing. It's like night and day in terms of the capacity to remove energetic blockages in a really short amount of time with really high results.
And how does that work? Frequency? I haven't heard of that one. How does it function, or what's the process?
So, I mean, the technology is actually really old. It was developed more than 100 years ago by Royal Raymond Rife, and he developed this frequency machine where people were hooked up to this machine, and he applied voltage. So it was like different frequencies, and he was curing all sorts of incurable diseases, including cancer. And he was able to pinpoint which frequencies worked for which particular diseases or disorders in the body. And he was using that really successfully. And of course, mainstream medicine doesn't like it when we find things that work really well. And so
takes away from the bottom line.
Yeah, that technology went away for a while. And so, but it was based on quantum physics. And in the last, I would say 10 to 15 years, quantum physics has made a giant leap in terms of medical physics. And so now there's technology that exists. And the one that I use is the wearable device. Anybody can have it now, but it has a quantum sensor in it, and it allows you to apply frequencies to remove that sort of energy stagnation that we talk about. There's also the capacity to read people's information, energetic bodies, and then apply frequencies to remove those, but also to assess it, and even assess it on a deeper level, like stuck emotions, limiting beliefs. You can do all sorts of different analyses that really tap into people's subconscious. So, I mean, I say this now because it used to take me months to get to this point with people where they could articulate, or even just develop the trust to be able to articulate where the trauma lies, right? How it feels in their body, to develop that kind of awareness of like, okay, right, I have this is where it is in my body. And this device, I mean, it's like 2 minutes, and it is bringing up these limiting beliefs. And it maybe isn't in the language that people would use, but almost every single time people are like, yes, 100% that describes my experience. And then you just apply the frequencies and it clears the energy. So it's pretty amazing.
That is fascinating. Thank you for sharing. And
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's revolutionizing all kinds of medical conditions now. So this is the way of the future.
And is this something that, because you're in Costa Rica, is this something you can do like via Zoom or long distance? Is it something that the device the person can purchase and then you work with them to use it? Or how does that work?
They don't even need a device. You can do it by just distance healing. So there's two different ways to use it. So you can have the device yourself and you can run frequencies yourself. That's kind of the best case scenario. But for people that don't want to invest or not ready to invest, or they want to have the experience, then you can absolutely do distance healing with this. And I get a voice imprint. So I put all their information in, I have them talk, it records their voice imprint. So it captures their energetic information, and then do the analysis by distance, and then apply the frequencies by distance. Because within quantum physics and with energy, there's no, 99% of our universe is space. So time and space are not really relevant in quantum physics. So it allows us to use that to our advantage to help people clear energy.
Wow, that is fascinating. I might have to try that with you.
It's amazing. And you don't even have to believe. I did a session with my mom last month, and my mother is not into any of sort of like energy medicine. She has no idea. And we did a session. She's had plantar fasciitis for over a year in her foot. She had to stop exercising. She had to buy special insoles in her shoes. And so I said to my mom, I was like, I have this thing. Maybe we could try it. And so we did. And in one session, I ran the frequencies and her pain was gone. She was up and she was like doing laps in the kitchen, running around. She's like, look, I have no pain. I mean, it was like mind blowing.
Wow, that is so fascinating. That is exciting to hear about. Are there any other types of incredible modalities that you utilize that are kind of off the beaten pattern or not? We kind of don't, a lot of us don't know about that you want to share?
I'm a big fan of sound therapy. So any kind of binaural beat, crystal bowls, Tibetan bowls. And again, those just come down to vibrations, which is very similar to the frequency therapy. It's about vibrations, right? It's about harmonizing the energy within our body. So sound is a really amazing tool for people. I tend to implement that. Even if they're not really into it, people get really into it. Once they have the experience with it, binaural beats for, balancing brain waves and the calming effect it has on the nervous system. And it's really easy. Again, tons of resources on YouTube, and people can find what they resonate with. So sound therapy is a really big one for me. Time in nature, getting barefoot in with your feet in the grass, spending time by water, getting direct sunlight. I mean, these are all really simple, free resources that we have most people have access to. So really sort of like connecting back to source, right? Spending more time unplugged from technology, more plugged into ourselves and into our surroundings, because that's really where the healing power lies.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm a big fan of sound healing. I've been doing the sound baths. Oh, they're so powerful. They really are. Now, since the pandemic began, there's been a lot of extra fear and stress going on with it. And at this point, it's kind of chronic stress for some because it's been an extended period of time. Have you seen the impacts of this in your clients? And how does operating from a place of chronic stress and fear affect our mindset, decision-making, and our bodies physiologically?
Well, stress is, an immune depressor. And definitely I've seen an increase in cancer diagnoses in the last year and a half. Unfortunately, I think that just the amount of stress that people have been under, plus fear, isolation, lack of movement outside because we've been more confined to our homes. Unfortunately, I think that we are going to see more cancer diagnoses. So in terms of the way that I work with clients, I've shifted my model a little bit now where I implement stress management techniques right from the beginning now. Because most people, their sympathetic system is just overactivated, and we need to get them into a calmer state, even just to access sort of that power of the mind that we're talking about, right? It's just like to be able to give them the tools to calm down. And, because people are already fear and stressed, and then we add a cancer diagnosis on top of that. I mean, it really puts people in overwhelm. So it's definitely shifted the way that I work with people. At least implementing more tools initially. I used to do more kind of nutrition and supplement and get the physical aspects, but now I see that it's really important to just start with the stress management technique and get the meditation and the energy management techniques in first.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's probably the one that's the most overwhelming to the system at this point in time. Now, you work with your clients on managing energy. And for those out there that don't know what that means, can you kind of give a little explanation of what managing energy is, and what are some of the therapies and practices that assist your clients in managing energy?
Well, everything is energy management, right? From our thoughts to our emotions to even to the food that we eat. Our foods carry vibrational energy to them. And so a lot of it is about developing awareness, right? Awareness of our lifestyle, awareness of our choices, awareness of our patterns of behavior. So all of those things are energy management. And so the more that we develop awareness about it, the more that we can come to understand, but when I do this, it gives me more energy. Or when I do this, it depletes my energy. When I eat this food, I feel really good and vital. When I eat, junk food, or I eat food that's a lower vibrational energy, then I feel sleepy and I don't have as much energy, or I get brain fog. And so all of it is about developing that awareness of how the things in our day-to-day life are impacting our energy levels. We all know that when we don't sleep very well, we don't have a lot of energy the next day, right? So we already use the language, but people are largely not aware, right? And so part of it is about developing the awareness and thinking about it in those terms, because we all have that. We've had those experiences. You eat a donut, you don't feel good. You eat a banana and you feel great, right? And so it's trying to discern what are the choices that we're making in a day, what are the experiences that we're having, and how those are impacting our energy. So really, that's what energy management is.
Yeah. And that's the language of our body, essentially. That's what it's just trying to talk to us through high energy or low energy, or inflammation even. Now,
even interact with people, right? We know that when we hang out with somebody, you get that sense, even if you don't have that language, or you don't use that language, or it's too woo-woo, but we all know that when we hang out with somebody and we walk away and we feel depleted, or we hang out with somebody and we feel really inspired. And so it's the same kind of idea in terms of vibration and energy.
Absolutely. And it's just really, like you said, cultivating the awareness to be really in tune with our bodies and ourselves, and and kind of opening our mind to that and being like, all right, this is kind of a trial and error with eating, and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. And we touched on this a little bit earlier, but what are the fundamental paradigm shifts that you feel our current healthcare system and the way we as a society approach healthcare that we need to make in order for us to really find true lasting health, and to kind of more, I guess, focus on mitigating illness and disease?
This has been a real bone of contention for me for the last year and a half, because we've been talking a lot about this with the current world affairs, but not really addressing how we look after ourselves. So first and foremost, using our food as medicine.
Yes.
That's an easy start for most people. And once we have that, I mean, our food should be our pharmacy, not taking medications, right? And so if we use our food as medicine and our medicine is our food, if we just started there, that would radically alter our experience. Simple things like getting sunlight, 10 to 20 minutes of sunlight every day is very energizing for our body. The vitamin D conversion in our skin is responsible for thousands of enzymatic reactions in the body. So that alone is life altering. Water. Most people are chronically dehydrated, right? And they don't understand how water quality is important. So I started with a client a couple of weeks ago, and she tested her water and it was a pH of 5.5. Well, that's really acidic, right? Tap water should be around 7, but 5.5 is very acidic. And so that puts her body in an acidic state, which is what cancer cells, where they tend to thrive. And so in a matter of weeks, we shifted her water, and now her water's up. She's testing it's a 7.2, right? So we're alkalizing her body, which is really, really important. Movement. We all need movement, right? We've talked about the meditation. I think any kind of mindfulness practice, it doesn't have to be sitting and closing our eyes and meditating or chanting. It can be something as simple as going out for a walk in nature without listening to anything, and just really being mindful about our surroundings, taking things in, really paying attention to our environment, observing the colors, the senses, like really engaging with our senses. And there's a lot of simple things that we can do. Getting enough sleep. Most people there's like millions and millions of Americans right now that are suffering from sleep conditions, right? And sleep is super important for our health. So stress management, we've covered. What else? Yeah, the thoughts, the belief, the mindset piece, those are really fundamental as well. And then finding joy and passion, right? What are the things that we're really interested in, what really light us up, that where we can really put our heart and soul into it? I think that as we get older, as adults, we tend to have less hobbies, and tapping into that sort of joy that we used to have as kids, or things that we really enjoyed doing, and tapping into that, or trying new things. I think we can get rigid as we get older, and it's hard to change. So trying to be a little bit more flexible, be inspired, being mindful about what we watch, what we listen to, the conversations that we're having, the words that we're using, the words that other people are using, right? Really being mindful about those things. I hardly spend any time on social media anymore, because I found that it was really draining my energy. So once we start to pay attention to all these aspects of our life, It's like they're pieces of the puzzle, and all of them are important. But food is medicine would be the number one for me.
Absolutely. And I'm learning that right now because I'm going through a process, this 40-day process, and I just did my food testing and I'm changing my diet. It's pretty incredible when you start eating right for your body and start eating, the natural foods. It really is medicine. Now, for those that would like to connect with you, we can find you on your website, which is canceralchemy.com. And I will post a link to that below. And you do free strategy call for those who'd like to find out more. And you also have a free healing guide on your website as well, which is great. I recommend that to everybody to go check that out. It's really insightful. And you also do cancer healing retreats. Can you share with us what those entail?
Yeah, well, I'm not currently running them because, travel is a bit tricky right now. But basically, as people come to Costa Rica and experience the beauty and the healing, the area that I live in particular, I mean, I'm a little biased because I love it here, but it's really potent energy. It's the jungle, it's the mountains, it's the ocean, and it's really just such a potent healing center. And so people come here, we eat good food, we hang out at the beach, we do some yoga and meditation, we do some sound journeys. There's some educational components, and I usually invite people to bring a support person with them, because most people going through a cancer journey, they tend to have a support person, or they should have somebody that can be there for them. But that support person can also get drained, right? Because they're putting so much of their focus on the other person, and so their self-care. And so it's an opportunity for them to come and have some healing as well, and for them to do some healing together and really empower both of them so that, it's a very synergistic and collaborative effort. So yeah, it's a 7-day journey that's amazing and transformative and healing, and you'll leave feeling amazing.
Sounds wonderful. Now, before I wrap it up, do you have any final thoughts or words for those out there who are cancer warriors looking to find healing?
Well, my main mantra is that somewhere in the world, someone has had a similar cancer or disharmony in the body, and they've cured it using natural therapies, using a combination, so that it's possible to regain vitality, to regain health, to reverse the condition, and to really be healthy and vital again. That it's possible. And, typically it's good to have a multi-pronged approach that is holistic based. So the more that you can implement all therapies, the more supported that you will be, that your body will be, that your mind and your spirit will be.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I learned so much, and I'm sure everybody watching did as well. If you like this video, please like and share it with others. This information could really help someone you may know. Also hit that subscribe button to be sure you don't miss on our future shows. Remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand about your body, the better you're able to stay healthy and prevent disease. And stay tuned for the next episode of Discovering True Health.